Have you ever stared at the ceiling in the dead of night, completely paralyzed by a single, agonizing question about why you were not enough? When the person you loved, trusted, and built a future with shatters your reality through betrayal, the immediate reaction is almost always crushing self-doubt. You analyze every physical flaw, every argument, and every small moment where you might have fallen short. But the most brutally misunderstood truth about cheating is that it almost never has anything to do with the person being cheated on. Infidelity is rarely a reflection of your inadequacy or failure as a partner. Instead, it is a glaring, unavoidable spotlight on the massive, unfillable emotional void inside the person who betrayed you. We are culturally conditioned to believe that people cheat because they found someone smarter, more attractive, or more exciting. But psychological analysis paints a vastly different picture. To truly understand the mind of a cheater, you have to stop looking at the affair as a search for a better partner, and start seeing it for what it actually is: a desperate, highly destructive search for a different version of themselves. The psychological architecture of someone who cheats is frequently built on a fragile foundation of profound insecurity masked by a desperate need for external validation. When a romantic relationship inevitably transitions from the chaotic honeymoon phase into mature, stable love, the constant hits of dopamine and butterflies naturally begin to fade. For a healthy, secure individual, this transition is a beautiful sign of deep bonding and safety. But for someone with a fractured sense of self-worth, this peaceful silence feels terrifyingly close to abandonment. They do not know how to generate their own internal happiness or maintain their own self-esteem, so they constantly require an external audience to reflect back to them how desirable, powerful, or relevant they are. When the steady, quiet love of a long-term partner stops providing that intense, intoxicating ego boost, they panic. They step outside the relationship not necessarily to find a new person to love, but to find a brand new mirror to look into. They become deeply addicted to the novelty, the secret thrill, and the temporary illusion that they are somehow escaping their own deep-seated feelings of inadequacy. This dynamic is not just an emotional theory based on observation. A comprehensive study published in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology investigated the underlying motives for infidelity and uncovered a fascinating link between adult attachment styles and betrayal. Researchers found that individuals who score high in attachment avoidance are significantly more likely to cheat on their partners. These are people who subconsciously fear deep emotional intimacy. As a relationship grows closer and more serious, their internal psychological alarm bells go off. The study demonstrated that instead of communicating their fear of vulnerability, these individuals use infidelity as a subconscious tool to create physical and emotional distance. By carrying a massive secret, they artificially manufacture a boundary between themselves and their partner, maintaining a false sense of independence and total control. They destroy the foundation of trust simply because they are absolutely terrified of being truly known, truly seen, and truly dependent on someone else's unconditional love. But there is an even darker, more complex layer to the psychology of betrayal. And if you have ever beaten yourself up trying to understand how someone could look you directly in the eyes and lie so effortlessly, this will completely shift your perspective. The human brain is incredibly adept at protecting itself from its own toxic behavior through a psychological defense mechanism called compartmentalization. When a cheater is living a double life, they literally fracture their reality into separate, heavily guarded mental boxes. In one box, they are the loving, committed, and responsible partner. In the other box, they are the reckless, unattached thrill seeker. By keeping these boxes firmly closed off from one another, they avoid the crushing weight of cognitive dissonance. This psychological splitting is exactly how they can come home, ask about your day, eat dinner with you, and sleep in your bed without immediately breaking down in guilt. They have convinced themselves that what happens in the secret box has absolutely no impact on the primary box. They rationalize their behavior by telling themselves that as long as you do not find out, they are not actually hurting you. It is a terrifying level of self-delusion where they rewrite their own moral code on the fly to justify their temporary cravings. They trade the profound, long-lasting peace of true loyalty for cheap, fleeting moments of validation, completely ignoring the fact that a house divided against itself will always eventually collapse. When the truth inevitably comes to light and the grand illusion shatters, the cheater is often faced with the agonizing reality of what they have carelessly destroyed. Yet, even in the messy aftermath, they rarely offer the genuine closure the victim so desperately needs to move on. Giving you true closure would require them to look in the mirror and confront their own shadows, their own cowardice, and their own brokenness. Instead, they deflect blame, they gaslight your memory, or they offer empty, surface-level apologies that lack any real accountability. You might feel like your life has been turned upside down while they get to walk away unscathed, leaving you holding the heavy burden of a pain you did not create. But fate has a very relentless and perfect way of balancing the scales over time. The person who walks away from a shattered relationship with their integrity intact will eventually heal, grow, and build a remarkably beautiful life. But the person who constantly runs from themselves through betrayal is sentenced to a lifetime of chasing empty thrills. They will forever be haunted by their inability to find peace within themselves, moving from person to person, perpetually unsatisfied and forever searching for a fix that does not exist. If you have ever been the victim of this kind of profound betrayal, you must realize right now that you were simply collateral damage in their invisible war against themselves. Your value as a human being does not decrease based on someone else's inability to see your worth. I want you to head down to the comments right now and share your story with the community. Have you ever survived a betrayal that made you question everything, only to realize months or years later that it was entirely their flaw and not yours? What was the exact moment you finally stopped blaming yourself and realized you deserved so much better? Drop your thoughts below, because your survival story could be the exact lifeline someone else needs to read today to help them get out of bed. If this script helped you make sense of the chaos and brought you some peace, prove it by hitting that like button to help push this message out to the people who need to hear it most. Make sure you are subscribed so we can continue unraveling the deep, unfiltered psychology of human behavior and relationships. Keep your heart open. Never let someone else's brokenness destroy your capacity to love. And always remember that true loyalty is a quiet strength that only the highly evolved possess.